Good morning. Today is the 16th of Shvat, the 26th of January. We're on the 6th and 7th readings of Parsha Beshalach. And in the wonders for this week, we put the famous verse about the Israelites debating what exactly is the manna. And this bread started coming down every morning, and they didn't know exactly what it was. I have to just say a few words about it. It looked something like a clear, transparent sand, and you could grind it down to even further. There's actually a very interesting thing related to this. Soon it'll be Purim in 2 months, actually exactly 2 months. And because this year we have 2 others. And on Purim there's a custom, I don't know how old it is, it's probably about 500, 600 years old, to eat Hamantashen, which would translate into English as the ear of Haman. That's what people thought for a long, long time. Why would you eat the ear of Haman? I can't even imagine why anybody would think about something like that, why they would even invent it, even if it was to laugh at it. I can't imagine what this thing is. But it seems that the true derivation of that word, which is a Yiddish word, is not the ear of Haman, but rather an ear or a pocket of Haman. Haman is the manna. And the manna, it's customary, today you find Hamantashen filled with all kinds of things. The original Hamantashen recipe that everybody knew when I grew up, and there wasn't any other type, was the only type that you could get, was a pocket of dough that was filled with sweetened poppy seeds. And the reason that they called this Haman, that it looked like the man, it looked like the manna, because poppy seeds, if you've ever eaten like a poppy seed cake or whatever, anything like that, they're very small. They're like grains of sand almost. They're a little bit bigger, and they bunch together when you put something sweet, but they're black. But the idea was that this was the same thing. It was like a pocket of manna. The manna was supposed to be sweet or something like that. And so on Purim, they would eat this pocket of poppy seeds, and they called it Hamantashen, which means a pocket of manna. So that's just about what it was like, except it was transparent, and you could grind it down further, and then they could make flour out of it. They could make all kinds of other things out of it. It's told in the Torah later that it frightened them because there was no excrement after eating the manna. It was entirely integrated into the body. There didn't seem to be any kind of feces that came out of it. And this frightened them, because how can it be that there is food that has no residue, that has nothing that's left over? But this is exactly the point about the manna, that it's something that's integrated completely into the body. And now, let's see what they said. They said to one another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. That's a long-winded statement. So the way we understand it is when they said, what is it? That's how we translate it into English. But in Hebrew, the word's a little bit different. It's not mahu, what is it? It's manhu. And that's where the word man comes from. So the word man actually, if we would translate it into English, means something like what? What is it? Rashi says that it comes from the word mukhan, something that's ready. You could eat it the way it was. You didn't have to prepare it. You didn't have to do anything with it. What this all boils down to, though, is that if you take these 2 words, manhu, mem, nun, hey, vav, aleph, and you permute the letters, you get the word emunah. You get the word for faith. And that's the idea behind this. That, remember, we've been talking about this, that Moses is now changing what Judaism is. Moses is opening up a whole new dimension of Judaism that didn't exist in the time of the patriarchs. What was there in the time of the patriarchs? At that time, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, They served God out of their natural understanding of God. They saw God in nature. What they understood that was greater than the idolaters is that they didn't fall into the trap of feeling that because nature is so multifaceted, that God is many gods. But rather they understood that behind everything that we see in nature, there is one creator. And that was the main insight that they had, and which made them into Jews in the first place. Because we say a Jew is someone who admits to the truth. Literally, the word Yehudi comes from to admit, lehodot, and he acknowledges the truth that God is one, and he denies the false picture of reality as being broken up into small pieces, fragmented, and not having a single source. And so Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, their understanding of godliness and of serving God was through nature, but nature that was created, nature that they felt and they understood was something that was a direct result of one God. But Moses now is going to change the whole definition. And it's no longer going to be the God who created the heavens and the earth, even though it's the same God. The description, the predication is now going to become the God who took you out of Egypt in order to give you the Torah, in order to command you. And that switch that we talked about, from creator to commander-in-chief, requires faith. It requires a healthy dose of faith, one would say. And that's what Moses is now bringing down. And we say that the manna came down in the merit of Moses. Moses himself is referred to as the shepherd of faith in the Zohar. He's the one who not only takes faith and brings it to the people, but he shepherds it, meaning he integrates it into their being. And so this whole thing of the manna coming down is really in the merit of Moses himself, in merit of Moses' faith, that the revelation that he's going to be receiving at Mount Sinai is indeed God's will. He needed to have a lot of faith in that, because again, he has, like everyone else, he showed up on the same day that everyone else did. He had to believe that what God had revealed to him at the burning bush, at the same place, at Mount Sinai, but a year earlier, was indeed leading to this revelation of the Torah. And that was a tremendous leap of faith that he had to make, and that everyone else had to make. Once they got to the revelation of Mount Sinai and they experienced, and this we'll see next week, they experienced the level of prophecy that was needed in order to convince them that this really is the Word of God, things became a lot easier. But they had to continue eating the manna. And they ate the manna for 40 years, the idea being that the faith continued to integrate into them so that they would be able to understand the Torah, because even understanding the Torah in the beginning requires a degree of faith. This is a famous thing that Hillel the Elder was once approached by a man who wanted to convert to Judaism. And he agreed to convert him. And so he said, let's learn the Aleph base. This man, I believe it's the same man. There's 3 different stories. I may have them crossed in my mind, but 3 different converts that came to him. One of them, I believe, this is the one who wanted to be a high priest. And of course, you can only be a high priest if you're from the progeny of Aaron, Aaron, and the convert can't. But Hillel, I believe this is the same story, he didn't want to argue with him. In any case, it was something that the convert wanted that can't be done according to Torah. In any case, Hillel didn't want to argue with him because he wanted him to convert. He saw that he had good intentions. So he sat him down, and the first day they learned the Aleph base, Aleph, Bet, Gim, and Dalet. They learned the letters of the alphabet. The second day that he came to learn, he told him, Taf, Shin, Reish, Kuf. He started teaching him the opposite order. And so the person asks him, but yesterday you taught me the other way around. So which is it? Is it Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, or is it Taf, Shin, Reish, Kuf, Tzadik, Pei, Samech, Ayin, Samech, and so on? So Hillel says to him, if you believe me regarding the order of the letters, believe me also when I tell you that you can't, that it says, V'azara karev yumat, the foreigner who comes near to the altar is liable for death, that you can't become a high priest. That this is not part of what you can do if you become a convert. And he accepted it. He accepted that there has to be a level of faith here, a level of traditional faith in what the Torah actually means, what the order is, and so on. And we mentioned this, I believe, once, that it doesn't say anywhere in the Torah what the order of the letters is. We only know this from much later. So this was a tradition that was passed down in some way, that this is the order of the letters. In any case, so they needed to continue to eat from the manna this entire time in order to fully be able to integrate the Torah. There's another thing that's called food of faith, and that's the matzah that they ate on the night before they left Egypt. And when you look at matzah, you see something very interesting, that the middle letter is the tzaddik. What's the idea? That tzaddik is the value of man. It's the same value, 90. Man is 90, manna is 90, and tzaddik, the middle letter of matzah, the essence of the matzah, is like the same faith that the manna gave. So what they ate on the night before they came out of Egypt was like the essence of the faith. But we said that everything that Moses is giving them is through his tremendous self-nullification. And so the letters that surround the tzaddik in matzah are mem and hey, and they are equal to 45. That's the word ma. Ma is what? But we also said it means v'nachnu ma, we are nothing, we are not. We are like nothing at all. And so the matzah had within it both the manna together with the vessel of Moses' selflessness. And that's what got them out of Egypt. But once they were out of Egypt, they continued to eat the manna itself for 40 years until they came into the land of Israel. And the day that they actually came in, that's when the manna stopped falling from heaven. And the sages say, based on this, that without this integration, they could not have been engaged in the Torah for 40 years. The Torah was given only to those who ate manna. To receive the Torah at any time requires faith. It's not just an act of intellectual prowess. There is a lot of intellectual ability involved, but the essence of the Torah in the end is that a person has to have faith in order to engage with it. And again, this is very surprising because we always talk about the logical, the intellectual side of the Torah, especially I think in these classes. But the Torah at its core can only be given on a bedrock of faith in the person, and that's why this faith had to be eaten, as it were, integrated into the body without anything left over for 40 years. We'll end today. Hope to see you on Sunday with a regular schedule, and Sunday at 9:15 Pacific, and I believe it's 8:15 Pacific and 11:15 Eastern Time. Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Be well, and God should bless you. Bye-bye.